just got overexcited about some of the headlines I can see. Memojis, group FaceTime, and limiting app use. So talk us through some of the highlights that we've heard so far.
Well, investors are excited, Julia. I'm glad you're excited, but nothing too surprising. All of this very much in line with what Bloomberg has reported. Perhaps one of the most significant announcements so far is these new features that Apple has introduced to help monitor our tech addiction, or moderate tech addiction, if you will. There's a new screen time monitoring feature, which will tell you just how much time you're spending on each of the apps. It will pause notifications if you like. You can set a beginning and an end time to do not disturb. Of course, Apple has been under fire from critics who say the technology is too addictive, and Apple is responsible for this. You could also just turn off your phone, but that might be too much to expect of some users. But the irony is that Apple, at the same time, is also announcing these new features, like the one you're excited about, the Memoji feature, which allows you to create a personalized emoji that looks like you. They've also just demoed group FaceTime, which is actually quite a technological feat. It's actually very difficult to do that. And all of these features are only going to make our phones more addictive. So at least for Apple, investors are liking what they are hearing.
So far, so good. And of course, Apple was pushed by some of its investors, including Jana Partners and CalSTRS, to do more when it comes to fighting the smartphone addiction. Compare and contrast how Apple is resolving this, or at least addressing this, to say how Microsoft, Amazon, or Alphabet are doing this. Because some people say that addressing smartphone addiction is less of an existential threat to Apple than it is to those software companies.
Well, interesting you mentioned Alphabet in particular, Scarlett, because Google did this very same thing just a few weeks ago at its own developers conference, announced these monitoring tools, if you will, these notification, gatekeeping, if you will. I also talked to Satya Nadella this morning, the CEO of Microsoft, about, tech issues and when it comes to Facebook in particular, and he talked about how trust is very important for them.